Get ready for the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in one final time here in the 2023-24 scholastic year. It is the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com. We are broadcasting live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. We are also, of course, you can tune into this podcast at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts. My name is Brandon Baney. One final time here in our Season 3 finale of the Magic Valley Prepcast. Here's our Magic Valley resident and expert, Scott Burton. What's up, Scott?
Brandon, what's going on? It is graduation day here in the Valley, where we've got a lot of our schools that are going to kind of don the cap and gown tonight amidst the, 25-mile-an-hour winds we've got going on. Shocker.
As soon as we're done with this Prepcast today, I'm going to unplug because kind of the end of the line for the school year, right? Graduation and all that stuff, and head to Montana. It was snowing over there this morning where I'm headed, so looking forward to that.
Unbelievable. I just, it seems we say this every year, but this spring was the worst spring ever. And that is just like a reoccurring thing. And I think this spring was the worst spring ever. And it's still going.
It's the spring that never ends, for sure. But Season 3 coming to it. It's hard to believe, Scott. We've done this for 3 years now on IdahoSports.com, the Magic Valley Prepcast.
Yeah. Even hit 100 episodes along the way and some really, really good broadcast interviews, stories. The stories that we were able to bring this season were really, really good. Very proud of what we've done again in 3 years. It continues to grow and get bigger.
Yes. We're kind of like, we're like the Wright brothers at first, trying to figure out how to fly the plane and land it. And it was made out of popsicle sticks. And then we kind of moved up to higher materials, and it's a pretty well-oiled machine now. Our final show of the year is always a longer one, so I'm going to apologize in advance because all of the spring sports championships get shoehorned into 1 week, and we want to give every Magic Valley team and athlete that was a champion their due. And apologies in advance. We're really just going to cover the winners. There were several Magic Valley athletes, of course, that placed second, third, fourth, etc., especially at state track. We don't have time to go through all of that. We'd be here until graduation ceremonies for Scott, and that's just not going to work on his schedule. So
I got to announce all the names, so I got to save some voice.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we will get to it then. It is just playing the hits today on Magic FM, KMAJ, and here we go. All right.
KMAJ?
Yeah, Magic.
Oh, okay.
MA, because, you have to have some way to distinguish yourself. Because if you go KMAG, they're going to be like, is that magazine? Is that MAGA? What is that? So we have to,
okay. All right.
You got to distinguish Magic with a J.
Magic with a J. I like it. Jeez. Method to your madness as always, Baney.
Yeah, I'm firing on all cylinders here. So let's go. We are going to start with the state track and field championships. The 4A meet was held at Mountain View High School. The 3A, 2A, 1As were held at Middleton. And we're just going to go from the largest classification down to the smallest in all of these recaps because I just didn't have time to organize it in terms of best storyline. But there are some incredible storylines that occur at the smaller levels across the sports landscape. But let's start with the 4A boys state track and field meet. Scott, nobody really a factor in the team race, but we did have 2 individual champions from the Magic Valley in the jumps. So here are all of our winners. I've got these cool graphics I spent hours on this week. You can see they're really basic. And so
that's great.
Yeah. I will direct your attention to the triple jump where Evan Wood from Twin Falls jumped 43 feet 11 inches to win the gold. And then in the high jump, Alex Rushton from Burley cleared 6'6". That's a pretty good mark for the high jump there for Rushton.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. That's a pretty impressive mark there for him. And, a lot of those, and I can't remember if the jumps were on what day, but I was in Pocatello over those 2 days, and I was getting kind of word back on kind of how the weather was. And in Pocatello on that Friday, it was crazy windy, and it was very pleasant on Thursday, and so it's funny how the spring weather will play a role in a lot of how kids do. Not saying that it aided Rushton at all, but I'm just saying that, those are things to consider as well. But Rushton, man, he was a good 6 inches ahead of really, gosh, a lot of people throughout the year. I mean, this is a guy that was dominant in this field or in this event for a good part of the year.
And I guess I have to recalibrate my expectations in the high jump. Scott, did you hear about the kid from Bear Lake, Christian Bush, at the 2A meet? I know it's not Magic Valley, but
no, I did not.
He cleared 7 feet 1.5 inches, shattered the all-class record, and that 7 feet 1.5 inch mark is the second best in the nation this spring.
Wow.
So I used to think 6'6" was good, but then Christian Bush from Bear Lake goes out and there's 7'1".
Oh man, the 7 foot mark is kind of like the pinnacle. I mean, I think the all-time national record is 7'7", and if that gives you any indication of how good hitting a 7 foot mark is, it's incredible. I mean, not to take anything away from Alex, who hit 6'6" and won the 4A handily, but 7 feet, holy crap! That is, talk about a vertical.
He's got something to shoot for.
Mm-hmm.
You always got to have another goal in mind. So congratulations to our 2 jumpers from Twin Falls, Evan Wood, and from Burley, Alex Rushton. On the girls' side, Scott, at the 4A state meet, the team race came down to 2 points. Skyview ekes out the team title over Twin Falls, 72-70. The Hard Luck Bruins fall 2 points short. That's essentially like a 5th place finish somewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of a heartbreaker for Twin. I mean, when you look at track, it's in the girls' side, Twin is always going to be in the mix, especially when you've got a lot of their distance runners that they have. They're just solid up and down, and it's just too bad. I mean, it's just one place here and there, one thing to go right, and then they're state champions. But still, a really good finish for Twin.
Yeah, and it really was a battle of depth because Skyview won the title and they only had one first place finish in the 4x100 meter relay. Same story with Twin. They won with their depth because they only had one first place finish. It was in the 4x200 meter relay. Tiffany Humphreys, Hallie Walker, Misha Bingham, and Isabel Paleo run a time of 1 minute 43.41 seconds. Humphreys and Walker specifically, we have talked about on the Magic Valley Prepcast this year. You might remember Hallie Walker is going to Montana next year, the University of Montana, to play volleyball. And we talked about Tiffany Humphreys. She drives to Boise 3 times a week to run club track over there in Boise, and she is going to be a multi-sport athlete at the college level as well. So it was nice to see those two, and along with Bingham and Paleo, get a first place finish for Twin.
Oh, absolutely. Really exciting for them. They let me go back to that really quick. But it does show their depth as well. Because a lot of times you get these schools that just have that one athlete that is going to place in about 4 different things, and they're essentially going to be your kind of breadwinner. But these 2 teams showed a lot of depth, and and coming into this, Twin they hadn't run the best time in the state at this event. There were some other schools, and a lot of them were 5As that were better than them. But what, you look at Skyview, the overall winner, throughout the course of the year, it was Skyview and Twin in this relay, this 4x2, neck and neck, because they were separated by 0.25 seconds throughout the entire year in this 4x2. And so you knew it was going to be a battle.
That is microscopic, 25th 100ths of a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty remarkable. One other champion from the Magic Valley, Burley freshman Carly Bear, wins the long jump. Yes, that's right. There's another one. After all those Bear boys, Jackson and Gatlin and Peyton Bear, They have all since moved on to collegiate endeavors. Two of them are decathletes in the SEC, Peyton and Jackson. And then Gatlin, of course, is going to play football at the University of Oregon. But here's Carly, keeping up the family name, winning the long jump for freshman season, jumping 17 feet, 10 and a quarter inches.
Yeah, impressive. I mean, she has been kind of the front runner in 4A in this event, all season long. I mean, there's another Magic Valley athlete that had jumped really well, Lexi Hudig, in the long jump. But Bear has just been in the 4As one of the best all season. So congratulations to her. And of course, with the track pedigree they have, not a surprise.
And now that Matea Mangum of Century, your winner in the 1 and 2, is finally graduating, I think you can see Bear really challenging those sprints as well. We all know what kind of sprinters that family produces. So, and you mentioned Lexi Hudick from Valley. We're going to talk about her in a little bit, and she is one of those quote unquote breadwinners you alluded to earlier on the track. We see that as we get to the lower levels. So that's what happened at the 4A state track meet. Let's go to the 3A competition where Kimberly takes home a third place trophy and Filer takes home second. Those two were only 4.5 points away from each other. 59 points for Filer, 55.5 for Kimberly. The problem was McCall Donnelly way out in front with the championship, 98 total points. But Filer and Kimberly each bringing home trophies. Pretty good finish.
Yeah, it's a really good showing for the Magic Valley. Two strong programs. I mean, Kimberly with their kind of demographic and kind of their makeup. It's no surprise. They have got athletes up and down the hallways at Kimberly High School. Filer was a nice surprise, though. I mean, they're doing some really good things over there, but it's a great showing for the Magic Valley. And, looking up and down, you don't see the overall winners, like the state champions. But what you see is right. What you see is depth and good programs and kids out and participation and placing in this and this and this, but the breadwinner not there for either one, which does show their depth. Congratulations to both of them.
A lot of selfishness at this meet, Scott. We had 4 double winners, none of them from the Magic Valley. Short sprints, distance races, hurdles, and the throws, all swept by people not from the Magic Valley. I say that, of course, tongue-in-cheek. But way to go, Filer and Kimberly. 3A girls meet, Scott. This was hotly contested. Weiser wins the title with 66 points. That is a 0.5 point better than second place Sugar Salem and only 6 points ahead of Kimberly, which took third. This was a race to the finish, and all 3 teams had their chances.
Yeah, boy, talk about everything matters and everybody just kind of on the edge of their seat with every race, every jump. These 3 teams, it could have gone a number of different ways. Kind of a heartbreaker for Sugar. 0.5 point. You could find a 0.5 point in your pocket, and it just the way that it goes. But again, another team trophy for the Magic Valley.
Well, as we'll talk about in baseball, Sugar Salem baseball took that lucky horseshoe that track usually has for the weekend, and they ended up winning the title in baseball. So I can't feel too bad for the Diggers.
Well, no, look, let's be honest. There's certain areas of the state that just have a fantastic makeup of community, the kids. It's a different demographic, whether it's socioeconomic. There's certain areas that have got it going on, and Sugar's one, Kimberly's another, and there's no surprise that they're there winning all the time. It's just a different place, and it's a good place, obviously.
Yep. Kimberly did win 2 events, the 4x1 relay, Sydney Weymouth, Hannah Baird, Ella Cummins, and Maisie Olson. And then they won the 4x4 with Isabella Burnett, Ava Wyatt, Sawyer James, and Ellie Stastny. That is 2 relay teams, Scott, and there was no crossover between that 4x1 and 4x4. It was 4 different girls for each of those events. So that kind of shows the depth that Kimberly had, where a lot of times you're borrowing people and whoever runs the 4x1 will also contribute to the 4x4. So that alone shows you what kind of depth Kimberly had.
Yeah. And Kimberly, they were solid in that 4x1 all season long. In fact, they had run the second best time in 3A. Homedale had run a better time than them by like a 0.17 seconds. So you knew that Kimberly was going to battle for a title in the 4x1 without question, because they had been near the top the entire time. And then, in the 4x4, they were the ones to catch. They were a good 2.5 seconds better than everybody in 3A all season long. So it was theirs to lose in the 4x4. So Kimberly, very solid in both of those events. And you're right. The cool thing about it is totally different set of people, and shows the talent level and the depth.
Definitely. Okay, let's move on to the 2A meet. Sadly, only one champion to report here. I mean, there's only the three schools, Declo and Wendell, and I think Sun Valley Community School does track. Maybe not. I could be wrong on that. They definitely do tennis, and we'll talk about that coming up. But we had one individual champion at the 2A girls meet. I'll direct your attention to the long jump, where Mara Rogers from Declo cleared 17 feet 3 inches to win the 2A long jump title. Congratulations to Mara Rogers from Declo.
Yeah, good for her. I mean, she had been in the top 2 all season in this event, chasing Avery Reese out of Nampa Christian all season long. But she came through and she needed it, and she was definitely one of the favorites to win it. So congratulations to her. Congratulations to Declo.
Oh man, you talked just long enough, Scott. I was going to interrupt the graphic parade. The viewers can't see it, but I can kind of see your camera shot off screen, and your cat had climbed up on the couch and was like leering over the top of you. I was going to pull it up, but right as you were finishing up your thought, your cat ducked away.
Oh, yeah. Now it's just trying to crawl in my lap. So
yeah.
Jeez.
Last show of the year. Yeah. Everybody wants their screen time in the season finale.
Unbelievable.
Yep. All right, let's move to the 1A meet. We'll start with the boys. Valley brings home the second place trophy. The Vikings finish 9 points behind Rockland. Rockland wins their first track and field title ever after winning their first cross country championship ever earlier this fall. So Valley takes second place. They had one champion, James Meyer, in the pole vault. He cleared 13 feet even. And we also had Oakley's Liam Koziol win the 110-meter hurdles in a time of 15:61. So congratulations to Liam from Oakley, James Meyer from Valley for their individual accomplishments also.
Yeah, Liam has been the front runner, I think, in this event in the 1As all season long. So definite favorite to win it, and came through when he needed it. And, on the other side of things, in the pole vault, which is it's a really cool event. I would never do it, but James Meyer, he was the guy to catch in the 1As, as he was really dominant all season long in this. So, the favorites won it, and the favorites were out of the Magic Valley. So congrats to them, and congrats to Valley on a team trophy.
Yes. Valley not only had the boys pole vault champion, they had the girls pole vault champion as well. As we transition now to the 1A track and field meet here, Scott, Raft River was finally toppled. The dynasty that was Raft River girls track and field. Their title gets usurped by Logos, who rode the strength of distance runner Sarah Casebolt. She's going to run for the University of Idaho next year, staying home in Moscow. She won 4 events, Scott. She won all 3 distance races and ran on Logos's winning relay team as well. But we had a pair of 4 event winners from the Magic Valley, Heidi Harper from Raft River, Lexi Hudig from Valley. Which one do you want to start with, Scott?
Well, let's start with Harper.
Okay. Heidi Harper is running next year, I believe, at Utah State. Let me double check that and make sure I have that right. But she is moving on to run collegiately in track. And yes, she is going to Utah State, and she finishes with a flourish. She wins the 100, the 200, and the 400 meter dashes. She also ran the anchor leg on Raft River's state champion 4x200 meter relay team. McKenna Durfee, Brooke Bingham, Sadie Knudsen, and then Heidi Harper ran the anchor leg. So this Raft River contingent. We talked about a couple of years ago, the Christensen twins, who kind of jump-started the cross-country program at Raft River. They both run for Utah State. Heidi Harper now going to Utah State. Allie Black, the distance dynamo, of course, as well. So for Raft River, all of this success in track and field has been very recent, but it's because of these incredible athletes that have come through.
Oh yeah, no question about it. And you talk about, Harper, it's not a huge surprise that she won the 200. That was kind of her race that she had dominated all season long. The 400, she was in the top 2 all season long, separated by 1/10 of a second behind Case Bolt out of Lagos, And then the one that actually surprised me just a little bit was the fact that she won the 100. And, because she'd been in the top 3 all season, but, a good, I don't know, point, almost a second behind the leader out of Raft River, which was Stanger, so to pull off the trifecta and then get the 4th one in a relay. I mean, you talk about breadwinner. I mean, that is huge for your team. And the funny thing is you get these kids that are so good at the sprints and then they dominate them, so good at the jumps and they dominate them. And those are the ones that get you team trophies. And, congratulations to Heidi Harper. You don't get to say that you are a 4-time individual state champ at the same meet.
Yep. And you only are allowed to compete in 4 events. So
Yeah.
they literally batted 1,000, both Harper and Hudig at the 1A meet. Scott, Raft River, this win by Logos finally knocked Raft River off the mantle. They had won the previous 5 1A girls track and field championships, 2018, 19, 21, 22, and 23. There was no meet in 2020, of course. What's more incredible? That recent run that was started by Randy Spaeth as the track coach for the first 2 years, and then he moved into the AD role, and Darren Harper won the last 3? Or is it the fact that it was the second time in school history that Raft River had snapped off 5 in a row? They won 5 in a row in 97, 98, 99, 2000, and 01. Raft River has done this twice, Scott.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think they're equally as impressive. I mean, it's hard enough to win 1 state title in anything, let alone to rattle off 5 in a row and then to do it more than once. It just goes to show the type of tradition, pedigree, that's Raft River track. And what you need to do that is you need those, Allie Blacks, you need those Heidi Harpers, you need those kids to be the magnets for other kids to want to work hard. And if you don't have that, then that's when you have your down year. But you get 1 or 2 of those kids that are what we just talked about, well, they bring others in. And as long as you can keep one of those, then you'll always have a chance. But very impressive either way.
I mean, it's pretty remarkable. And then our other quad winner was Lexi Hudig from Valley. Scott, last year as a sophomore at the 1A meet, she was a 3-time champion. She won 3 events. I mean, how do you beat that? You go out and you win 4. She won the pole vault, the long jump, the triple jump, and she was the anchor on Valley's first place 4x100 meter relay team. It was Journey Fenton, Daisy Flores, Joni Lewis, and Lexi Hudig. We recognize those last 2 names from girls basketball season. And for Lexi Hudig, only a junior, Scott, she's gonna have options to go run track at the next level.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, she's a phenomenal track athlete. Those 3 events, the pole, the long, and the triple, she led the way all season long in 1As. I mean, everybody was chasing Lexi right from the start. Her marks all season were just that much better than everybody else. It tells you not how good she is, but how dominant she is at a couple of things, a few things, a lot of things. And so being an underclassman, you're going to hear this name again. And boy, that's just impressive. Just to do it in the fashion that she did it, the domination that which she did it. And she's going to come back and try to repeat that feat, which is incredible.
Yeah, so last year at the 1A meet, Lexi Hudig set a new Class 1A record in the long jump by clearing 18 feet 4.25 inches, only 17.9 this year. Still very impressive. Scott, I forgot to mark it down. She set a new 1A record in the triple jump this year by clearing 37 feet 11.5 inches. The previous record was set by another Magic Valley athlete, Camas County's Caitlin Peterson, in 2012. She went 37.1. So you look, and Lexi Hudig not only broke the record, she demolished it. She beat it by 10.5 inches.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that record right there, that triple jump record, that's going to stand for a while unless Lexi beats it next year. That's how good that mark is. And man, the long jump, just 17.9, so pedestrian.
I know, right? It was incredible. 1A girls track and field definitely belonged to the Magic Valley this year in terms of individual performances. Just simply incredible. 2 4-event winners, just unmatched anywhere else. Right. So congratulations.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go to tennis, Scott. We're just going to quickly check in on the 4A tennis meet where Twin Falls did take home 3rd place. Bishop Kelly, the longstanding power, took 2nd. And congratulations to Century, coached by our IdahoSports.com colleague and East Idaho Prepcaster, Sean Kane. That is his 9th tennis championship in his coaching career. That's pretty cool.
That is impressive, Sean. Well done. It was nice to see Sean beat Bishop Kelly. But, man, that's a dynamo over there, Century Tennis. And, I was working our district tennis tournament and watching some of these kids play, especially out of Twin and Wood River and those tennis towns. And man, there's some really good players, high school players, and never got to see Century and Sean, but I can only imagine if they're good enough to beat what I saw, then I bet they're pretty decent.
Yes. In fact, the thing he was most proud of was his doubles duo of Liam McGee and Daniel McGee. They are brothers. They took out the defending state champions in doubles from Wood River and the number 1 seed. And so the fact that they were able to break through and beat that Wood River doubles team of Best and Schwartz is what he was most proud of, because they were the defending champs. They were the number 1 seed, and they came through and beat those guys from Wood River.
Yeah. And I remember watching Best and Schwartz too at our district tournament and noticing how good they were, how much chemistry they had together. Because watching all those things in tennis, it is really interesting to see, especially in mixed doubles, where it's I slide to mixed doubles. The dynamic is so different, because of the guy girl thing. Number one, how are you getting along? 2, how do you play it? Because obviously there's a physical difference there. And watching some of these really good mixed doubles teams just gel like they're the same person. They're the same. Yeah, there's no difference. And so that was really interesting. And I know that's one thing that Sean has to coach, that all the tennis coaches have to coach. To be good at that is a chemistry with any of these doubles teams. Because if you don't, it's going to be like a marriage counselor in a way. Whether it's boys doubles, girls doubles, mixed doubles, so there's certain skill set to a coach there to coach a doubles team.
Yes. Okay. We'll pivot away from the Magic Valley just for a moment, Scott, because you'll appreciate this. We shared this on our East Idaho Prepcast. The mixed doubles champions were from Idaho Falls, Max Trainer and Katie Woodhouse. We got a photo of the 2 of them. First of all, look at the height difference between these 2.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm talking about. There's such a physical difference, yet those 2 have got to find a way to work together to win, and they've got to complement each other. And boy, that's the perfect picture right there. Congratulations to them, but that is the perfect picture of what I'm talking about.
The other funny thing Sean brought up is the fact that when you are a champion, you get to keep the bracket, right? And it shows all your vanquished foes. And he said, whenever I run a tournament or I run districts, I always make sure to print a second copy of the doubles bracket so each person can at the state meet, there's only one bracket awarded to the duo. So now you've got shared custody between a guy and a girl for this bracket. How do you, there's a home economics lesson. Right?
There's another point right there, is they're going to have to joint custody of the bracket, so see, again, coaching genius right there, Sean. Great job.
Yep. So it's just a little thing you would never think about, and only a tennis coach could point out to you, and you go, oh yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah.
Let's start printing 2 brackets for everybody for those doubles teams. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap up with the 3A tennis meet here, Scott. The Sun Valley Cutthroat girls took 3rd place, 23 points. Parma, the overwhelming champion, and they've only won, I think I counted it. I think it was like 17 or 19 tennis championships in Parma history. It's just incredible. But Sun Valley does bring home the 3rd place trophy. And then we had a lot of champions from the Magic Valley here, Scott. On the boys' side, Matt Carlin from the community school in Sun Valley won the boys' singles title. You also had the girls doubles team of Chloe McGowan and Addie Murray win a championship for the Cutthroats. And Jordan Hicks of Declo successfully defends her girls singles title and wins the girls singles championship once again as well.
Wow, that's impressive. 3 out of those 5 from here in Southern Idaho. But, you look up at that Sun Valley group up there. I mean, as small of a school as they are, there's some things that they do really, really well. Their coaches up there, Richard Whitelaw, that the whole place up there has got it going on. And tennis is one of their bread and butters. And we've talked about their soccer team in the past. But when it comes to a couple of things that they do, it's tennis and soccer.
Yep. Pretty phenomenal. And maybe that would be a good off-season podcast. I know we've kicked that around before, but getting Richard Whitelaw from the community school, just because it's so unique up there, that'd be a good off-season. Okay.
Absolutely. And he's such a great guy and a good character. And I mean, how do you not like the dreads and the accent on top of that? I mean, just a super nice guy.
Well, and I love that they call their basketball gym the fish tank. I mean, that's
the fish tank.
I get the emails from him. Final score from the fish tank tonight. I love that. I did mention Jordan Hicks of Declo was the defending champion in girls singles, as was Matt Carlin from Sun Valley. So they both defended their singles titles there. So congratulations to both of them. And that is the wrap up on tennis. Okay, let's go to golf, Scott. We finally have our first team champions here from the Magic Valley. Let's go to the 3A golf meet. This was at Twin Lakes Country Club up in Rathdrum, Idaho. And look at this. The Filer boys take home first place. I'm not wild about that 666 team score, but hey, first place is first place.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, is that a blessing or a curse? I'm not sure. You win, but really, that is okay. All right, whatever. But congratulations to Filer. And, my goodness, what do you say?
They had 3 golfers finish in the top 10. Kimberly took 3rd with a score of 704. The individual championship, Scott, came to the playoff between 2 Magic Valley guys, Wyatt Williams from Kimberly and Hudson Reinke of Filer. Both shot 150, and it had to go to the playoff. Well, they both matched each other on the first playoff. It went to a second playoff hole, and Wyatt Williams finally edges out Hudson Reinke to take home the individual title. So that was a pretty exciting finish on the individual side as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anytime you go to a playoff, whether it's high school, professional golf, doesn't matter, game 7s, anything like that at sudden death is exciting. So congratulations to Wyatt Williams out of Kimberly. And, and that whole list of Magic Valley athletes, Hudson and, even at Kyler Kelly from Buell in the top 10, Dallin Nielsen and, Carson Lemoyne, all those guys represent very, very well.
Definitely. So Filer got 3 guys into the top 10 at the boys golf championships. What Kimberly did on the girls side was even more impressive, Scott. Kimberly wins the 3A girls golf title again in dominating fashion. I mean, by almost 80 plus strokes over second place Bonners Ferry. And Bonners Ferry is no slouch. They've got 2 twin sisters that are competing at rival Big Sky Conference schools next year, one at Idaho State, one at Utah State from Bonners Ferry. So they're no slouch, but Kimberly placed all 5 of their golfers in the top 10. That is just unheard of in golf.
Oh, it's in golf, it's not going to be about, the best golfer. It's going to be about your worst golfer, because they're the ones that are going to make or break you. Everybody's going to have an ace or a 1 and a 2. But for a lot of teams, that's where it stops. And that's where you don't get any team titles, and you look at, teams like Twin Falls that dominate in golf, Bishop Kelly that dominate in golf. It's because they're solid 1 through 5. And if you have that, then my goodness, how powerful are you? And Kimberly absolutely had that. And to put all of them in the top 10, that's unheard of.
Yeah, so we finished with Elise Simmons of Kimberly took 2nd, Ellie Stastny took 3rd, Allie Stastny took 6th, Shelby Hyder took 8th, Ava Harper checks in at number 10. And we talked about Bonners Ferry and the Bayer twins. Avery Bayer took 5th. Braylon Bayer ends up taking 1st place. Just like on the boys' side, Bayer and Simmons go to the playoff. They each shoot a 163, Scott. They both match on the first playoff hole. This also went to a second playoff hole. And finally, Braylon Bayer at Bonners Ferry is able to edge out Elise Simmons. And this wraps up what has been a really fun trilogy over the last 3 years between Kimberly and Bonners Ferry, where Kimberly won the girls' title 2 years ago. Bonners Ferry stole it back last year. And then Kimberly says, yeah, well, we'll take that back. Thanks. Here in year number 3.
Yeah. Look at the team scores. It's, the domination of Kimberly in this, but there's still a pretty decent separation between 2nd and 3rd as well. And that shows how strong Bonners Ferry program is, and they're not going away anytime soon. But to have 2 teams out of the Magic Valley finish in the 3A top 3, wow, that is impressive. So hats off to Filer too. Tanley Lemoyne is in there in the top 10, and you look at that list just dominated by Kimberly, and there's a Filer. Love to see that.
Definitely. We'll wrap up our golf coverage by going to the 2A tournament, which was held at Circling Raven Country Club or golf course in Worley. Scott, somebody told me I went to a men's group at my church on Monday night, and we got talking about golf, and I asked about Circling Raven because I knew the 2A championships had just been held there. And they told me that it costs $300 to play around at Circling Raven. So all these high school kids enjoy the round you got to shoot there, because might be a while before you go back.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Every once in a while you get one of these courses that you would never play as a layman, right? As a normal person. Circling Raven is definitely one of them. Sun Valley Club is another down here that, we used to have a tournament at. And, you hope that when those kids play that, they are appreciating what they're getting, because it's not a goat track. It's certainly not a links course. It's not a Muni course. It is a different, well-groomed, well-manicured piece of property that I hope they appreciate.
For sure. So the 2A golf tournament was at Circling Raven in Worley. Declo takes 2nd place. They were not that far off. Compass Charter wins what I think is their first championship in school history. I think. Don't quote me on that. But Declo finishes 15 strokes behind Compass Charter. That's really not that big of a difference when you're talking 2A golf. And Declo had 2 individuals hit the top 10. Axel Silcock finishes 7th. Alex Gailey takes 9th.
Wow. Compass Charter. Wow. Out of Meridian, right?
Yeah. Do you know their mascot, Scott?
You know what? Hang on a minute, because I think I was looking at it. So I was doing something with charter schools, and it stood out, and I can't remember what it was.
They are. Oh, you Do 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 do.
Jeopardy.
Yeah. They are the Aviators. And
Okay, the Aviators. Okay.
Yes, their logo is like a mustachioed pilot with the goggles, the flight goggles and everything.
Oh, no
It's pretty
kidding.
cool.
How about that?
Yeah. So,
Huh.
anyways,
Charter Aviator. Well, I guess that makes sense. Compass.
yeah,
Direction, right?
right.
Okay.
So,
I wasn't
you know.
thinking like protractor and compass, you know.
Yeah.
That's a whole different one.
All right,
But,
mathlete.
yeah. Yeah, who knew? I mean, who knew they even had a golf team? But hey, that's good for them. And
Yeah.
congratulations to Declo too, another Magic Valley representative in the top 3 team trophy. Silcock and Gailey in there in the top 10.
Yep. All right. So congratulations to all of our golfers from the Magic Valley. Scott, we're going to go to softball now. Time to bust out the brackets once more here. Let's go to the 4A state softball tournament. This is baseball. Hold on. Let me pull up softball. There we go. Pocatello wins their first softball title in school history. Had to come back through and beat Bishop Kelly twice. Scott, 4 of the 5 state softball tournaments this year went to the, if necessary, game 2 in the championship. The only one that didn't, we'll talk about because it involved the Magic Valley School. But here's Pocatello beating Bishop Kelly twice to win their first title ever in softball. But along the way, they had to navigate past a pesky Twin Falls team in that 3rd place game. Twin came this close to knocking off Bishop Kelly in the quarterfinals. They lost by a run, 7-6. They rebound from there to beat Hillcrest 7-6, ironically, to get in the 4th place game. And then they were right there with Pocatello, the eventual champs, but just fell short 5-3. So Twin takes home a 3rd place trophy. Still a remarkable finish for the Bruins.
Oh, always. You know, they've got such a good program, and you know, Tanya Burke over there does such an amazing job with those girls. And, you know, they are a softball school. I mean, Twin's a lot of things over there, and softball is one of the things they do really, really well. And this was a really good Twin team. And, you know, they came into this tournament, the number 4 seed, but, you know, I thought they were better than that. You know, they had the potential, if things went their way, to win the whole thing. And if they just got by Bishop Kelly, who knows how things would have worked out for them. But it's asking a lot for a team to come around the consolation side of things to battle their way back. But Twin did and fell just short, but a team trophy nonetheless. And that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, Owyhee at the 5A. Again, I know this isn't Magic Valley, but they were the number 1 seed, Scott. They lost right away to the number 8 seed Coeur d'Alene, and then they knew, okay, we've got to win 6 games through the back half of the bracket. If we're going to come back and do this thing, they won 5 of the 6, and they fell in the 2nd championship game. So they definitely took the difficult path. Wood River also made the tournament, Scott, from the Magic Valley. And what a brutal draw. Hey, right away, you get the champs, the eventual champs, Pocatello, 16-0, a loss there. And then in their loser out game, they get the defending champs from Skyview. So they had to play this year's champions and last year's champions. They fall in a close battle to Skyview, 12-11 to go 2-0. But for Wood River, just getting to state after missing out last year was a big accomplishment.
Oh, it is. Sometimes that's all a program needs to have a shot in the arm, is just to get some of those young kids to state, give them a taste of it, and make them a little bit hungry next year. And, you know, a great job by, you know, Wood River and, you know, their coaching staff. They were a really good softball team this year, but yeah, their draw was brutal.
That's tough. So we have 2 Magic Valley champions on the team side so far on our rundown here, both in golf, Kimberly girls and also the Filer boys. Are you ready for our 3rd state champion, Scott? It comes at the 3A softball tournament. Congratulations to Kimberly, the Bulldogs at the top of the 3A heap once again.
Oh, shocker, isn't it? Yeah, Kimberly comes in number 1, just dominant all season long, and it was really theirs to lose, you know. And you could see that they absolutely cruised in that first game, but man, did they have a nail biter in that second one against Marsh Valley, and about sent them to the backside. But you know, that's what good teams do. They win the close ones, and they rebounded and thumped Homedale, and then eventually had to beat them again. And congratulations to Kimberly. And I tell you what, I mean, they've got so many good players led by Clark, who is just a phenomenal softball player. And, she is going to be somebody you keep an eye on in the future. I mean, she's an underclassman, but, I think her offers after high school are going to be through the roof. She continues how she's going.
Yeah, pretty remarkable. Kimberly beats Homedale in the undefeated semifinal, 11-0. They get Homedale again in the championship. They win 9-6. This was the only tournament that did not go to the second, if necessary, championship game. Homedale was the only, or Kimberly was the only team that successfully defended its undefeated mark. They're the only team that went through state without a loss, 5A all the way down to 1A. So that is quite the accomplishment. Kimberly back-to-back champs in 3A softball. Gooding was here as well. They won their opener over Weiser 9-5. Then they fell to Homedale 7-3, and then momentum was not on their side. They fell to Timberlake 6-1 to go 1-2. But for Gooding, they beat a very good South Fremont team in a state play-in game just to get here. Yeah. And once they did, I mean, the Senators were given the number 3 seed by Max Prep, so they weren't a slouch. It was a good season for Gooding as well.
Oh, it was absolutely a good season for Gooding. They battled all season long with Kimberly and Filer and Buell and earned their way to state. And like we said, that's a good motivation and a good boost for the program. How about number 8 Timberlake? I mean, come in as the number 8 seed and work your way, lose right out of the gate, and then work your way all the way back and take third. Maybe that shows you some of the parity that was in this 3A division. I don't know. Or how much Max Preps didn't know about Timberlake.
Yeah, I think it's that second one. Teams from the north really struggle with they get the low seeds like very consistently, and they always seem to outperform those at state. Let's go to the 2A bracket, Scott. We had Declo representing District 4. They came in as the number 4 seed. They beat New Plymouth in the opener, 14-3. Then they fall to Malad, and Malad is a dynasty, Scott. They had coming into state. They had a 2-year record of 56 wins, no losses, 1 tie. That was their 2-year run. And they ultimately fall short in the second championship game. Coal Valley Christian finally slays the dragon, pardon the pun from Malad there. But Declo falls to Malad 14-11. Then they got to turn around and play North Fremont. They win that game 13-3. Declo falls to New Plymouth in the 4th place game by a run, 5-4 in a rematch from the opening round. So Declo went from beating New Plymouth 14-3 to falling 5-4. You think the Pilgrims were motivated to get revenge on Declo in that 4th place game?
Yeah, sometimes a bracket plays out that way. It's you always look for those motivating factors, and and if you're Declo and you're thinking, oh great, New Plymouth again, they're the ones that are going to have a little chip on their shoulder because they lost that opening round and lost badly. So sometimes the bracket just plays out that way, but it doesn't take away from a good season from Declo. We talked about them extensively this spring, and another great showing from the Magic Valley, and congratulations to Declo on a great year.
Yep, just phenomenal. 4th place finish at 2A. And then the 1A tournament, Scott, really one team from the Magic Valley. It was Glens Ferry, this Pilots team that we had been hyping up. They came in as the number 2 seed on the Max Preps rankings. They beat Idaho City 11-1 in their opener, no problem. They play Kendrick in the quarterfinal round and fall in a very tight game. They lose by a run, 6-5. And all of a sudden that puts them on the consolation side of the bracket where they've got to take on Clearwater Valley, a Clearwater Valley team that felt that they should have been on the other side of the bracket, and they get shut out 4-0. And so their tournament concludes with a 1-2 record, but they were a handful of plays away from playing in that undefeated semifinal against the eventual champion from Genesee.
Yeah, and that's such a heartbreaking loss for Glens Ferry. And again, this is a group that we talked about a lot during the season and kind of felt that we got to know them and their coaching staff and everybody else. And, when you lose that kind of game like they did, to Kendrick, it's always interesting to see how a team bounces back because they just had their heart broken, right? And so are you still pining over what could have been? And we sometimes, I'm not saying this happened in Glens Ferry, but this happens a lot where they're still thinking about the past and they haven't moved on yet. We see it in state tournaments up and down, whether it's basketball in particular, where you lose a heartbreaker in the semifinals, you got to come back and play. How's your mental state? It's no different here. The difference here is there's hardly any turnaround time. You got to forget it and move on, and you got to do it now because you're playing. And so,
yep.
It kind of heartbreaking for Glens Ferry to come short. I know they expected a lot more from themselves coming in as the number 2 seed, but again, it was a successful season for the Pilots.
It was. We do have a comment in the chat here from Natasha King. Still proud of our Lady Pilots. Going to miss watching our Campbell. Yes, Campbell King, that speed demon on the base paths. Natasha, I've got good news for you. One, there are 2 younger Kings that are still on the team, Clara King and Quinn King. And 2, Campbell was the only senior this year. So everybody else returns next year.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a Glens Ferry team that, they're going to take this experience and they're going to learn from it too, because every single one of those kids, except for Campbell, is coming back. And you don't think they're not going to draw from this and remember how it felt and more importantly, how to rebound from a heartbreak. Those lessons you just don't get until you experience them. And that's why I think this Glens Ferry team could be dangerous next year.
Yeah. And Natasha, if you're still hanging around in the chat, I'm going to guess you're related. Are all of those King girls sisters? I know sometimes there's cousins at the lower level. Let me know in the comments because it's been really fun to watch them all play and compete for Glens Ferry, not just in softball, but across multiple sports. So let me know in the chat, Natasha. I've always been wondering that all season long, and I just haven't had a chance to ask anybody. So that's what happened at the 1A softball tournament. We'll wrap up with baseball, but first, okay, Clara and Campbell are sisters. Okay, Quinn is going to be a cousin, I'm guessing. So there you go. That's the King family from Glens Ferry. And she says Quinn and Marley are our granddaughters. Is Marley a younger one? There's another King coming through, Natasha? Or is she older? We'll have to see. Okay.
I feel we need a diagram or something here, a family tree, some sort of bracket, if you will. I don't know. I'm a visual guy.
For sure. That's fun. Okay. Okay, let's go to state baseball. Marley Mason, freshman. Okay, there we go. So yes, they are all there. And all of them will be back next year, except Campbell King. Okay, baseball, Scott, 4A tournament. We had Minico as the 7 seed. They went 2-0. They fell to Moscow. They kind of got Wood Rivered here. They had to play the eventual champs Moscow right away, 6-0, and then they had to play the defending champs Pocatello and lost 5-2. And then Twin, kind of surprisingly, also went 2-0. They lost to Bishop Kelly. Boy, BK and Twin for the 5 millionth time. BK ekes out a 3-2 win. And I'm sure Twin never thought that they were going to face the number 1 seed, the 21-2 Skyview Hawks in a loser out game. Skyview wins via the 10-run rule, 10-0, because I still don't know what happened in that Skyview Bonneville game in the opening round, but for Twin, just a tough draw. Minico, tough draw too.
Yeah. I mean, it could not have worked out any worse for Twin. Losing that tough game to Bishop Kelly, and those 2 teams know each other so well. They have played, it seems like, every year at the state tournament in opening game, quarterfinals, semifinal, whatever, doesn't matter. But to lose that one and then say, oh my, seriously, Skyview? I don't know. We'll have to ask Lucas on that one because Lucas was at the 4A, and I don't know if anybody saw that one coming. And Skyview, man, win the consolation, but man, I want to say disappointing season for Skyview, but it's certainly not what they expected. And for Twin, man, it couldn't have gotten any worse on the draw.
And congratulations to Moscow winning the title over Bishop Kelly. They were down 6-5 going into the bottom of the 7th. and they walk it off on an error. So way to go, Moscow.
Yep.
It was an exciting finish.
Yeah, we saw that Moscow team as we were kind of doing our picks and whatnot, that, on paper and statistically, they were legit, but they were still that mystery out of the North, right? And I guess they lived up to, as good as they are on paper, they are equally as good on the field. And so congratulations to Moscow. That's exciting for them.
Definitely. The 3A tournament was just as wild, Scott. Let's start with, we had Kimberly there representing the Magic Valley. Kimberly, of course, got to the championship last year against Marsh Valley, fell on a walk-off. Who do they got to play right away? Marsh Valley. Well, they conquer that demon. They win 4-0. They get to the semifinals, and they lose to Homedale 3-1. Here's the incredible part about this loss for Kimberly. Jacob Cummins comes out and throws a no-hitter for Kimberly. Homedale got no hit, and they won 3-1. Came down to some balls in the dirt. They got past the catcher, and Homedale was able to manufacture the runs they needed. Kimberly rebounds by beating Fruitland 5-2 in the third place game to take home the third place trophy. But man, that is what makes baseball so cruel. You can be almost perfect, but a couple of plays could lead to a couple of runs, and all of a sudden you throw a no-hitter and you've lost.
Yeah. Oh, and I think you hit it right on the head. It's cruel what happened to Kimberly in that semifinal game. I mean, what else do you want your pitcher to do? They had no run support at all. And all they have to do is score a couple runs, and this thing is done. And they're playing for a state title against Sugar. But my goodness, you just shake your head in disbelief at what happened in that semifinal game if you're Kimberly.
And meanwhile, Sugar, I mean, the minimum you can do in a tournament is win 3 games by 3 runs, right? Sugar won their 3 games by 4 runs. They beat South Fremont 7-5, Fruitland 4-3, Homedale 10-9. They were down a run going into the top of the 7th against Homedale and found a way to manufacture that magic and win again. Homedale just seems to melt every time they play Sugar Salem. They played in football forever for the title. They played in baseball this year. The story goes that people in Homedale now, kind of half kidding, but kind of half not, instead of swear words, like if they stub their toes, they're like, "Oh, sugar." And that's their new swear word in Homedale.
Oh, that's funny. It's funny how just those teams get in your head, and it's you can put the same kids in different uniforms, as long as it doesn't say sugar across their chest, it's a whole different story. But once you see that, you're like, oh no, here we go. And it happens all over the place.
Yep. 2A tournament, Scott, this is the tournament that you were at. Wendell, right away, first game of the tournament, opening shot fired. Take out this Nampa Christian baseball factory, and they win 5-1. And then they lose to Orofino, the eventual champs, in the semifinals, 17-13. But they bounce back and beat Chalice Mackey, the River Cats, to take home the third place trophy, 12-3. Scott, we said coming into this tournament, there were like 8 or 9 pitchers that had sub-2 ERAs on the season. So on our preview show, me and Paul Kingsbury were saying, oh yeah, this is pitching is going to rule the day at this tournament. And this was the most offensive heavy tournament that we had.
Yeah, go figure, because there were a lot of good pitchers in this tournament. And, you look at that opening round with Wendell. I mean, they threw Alex Hirai, and he threw a gem against Nampa Christian, and it got them to the semifinals, where those 2 games took forever. I mean, 17-13, we're like, okay, we're already late getting started with the second one. Let's have the second one go 16-15. And then, I mean, we're out of there so late, but those games were so good that it could have gone either way for both Wendell and Chalice Mackey. It could have been a Wendell Chalice Mackey final. But, I'm impressed with what I saw with Wendell. Patrick Ryan, I mean, the job he's done with those kids is amazing. They are a really solid, fundamentally sound baseball team. They just happened to run into Orofino that had a little, they had a little extra with them. And you know, in that championship game against Grangeville, where Orofino won, I think it was 8-4. It was, I know that a lot of people that are following 2A know the story of Drew Hanna, right? He was the Orofino kid that was killed in a car accident. I believe it was in August, right before the season, right before school started. And and he was the guy that was the All-American athlete, right? He was the quarterback. He was the point guard. He was on the baseball team. He was just that kid. And when Orofino won the title, they were handing out the medals, and they were doing it in numerical order. And number 1 comes out for Orofino, but he also comes out holding a number 2 jersey, which was Drew's jersey, and on a hanger. And they put a medal on it, and just like he was part of the team, right? And so they did this whole thing, and they're taking pictures, and they've got the jersey hanging on the banner as they're all standing there. I mean, you talk about an angel on your shoulder, if you will, just pushing you through all these things that were going on at the tournament. And you talk about a team of maybe destiny, if you will. Orofino was that team. And it was really cool in our broadcast too, because we were kind of learning all the little things. And we had a group of parents come up to us right before we went on for that final. And they gave us, and I made sure I wore it today. They gave us these little bracelets that says "Live Like Drew," right? It has number 2 on it. And that's what their team was wearing in support of, kind of what happened. And so I saved it for the broadcast today, just to make sure to show you. But they also gave us a poem that was written as well. And we read that on the broadcast as they were posing for their picture and then coming together in like a prayer circle, if you will, about everything. And it was a really cool moment in our broadcast that just timed out perfectly. But that was the huge story there in the championship game, was that. So, I mean, you don't get that when you just look at a bracket.
Yeah, at the very start of the year, Jason Chatraw wrote a great article about Drew Hanna and what the Orofino community was going through. I gave him the assignment in August, right after this happened. He passed away in a car accident, and it took him until right before the start of the playoffs, at the end of October, to finish it, because the emotions were so raw still. It took everyone a while. Like, he talked to Drew's mom for the story and some of his coaches. It took them that long to allow those wounds to heal. And it took them a while before they were comfortable to finally say, okay, I'm ready to talk about it. And they've got the Live Like Drew signs and ribbons all throughout the Orofino community, on the highways coming into town and out of town. And he was the quarterback on the football team, played basketball, was their top pitcher in baseball, but just a good kid too. His mom works at the school there in Orofino, to the point where when the team stopped to get food to eat on the way home from a game or something, he would go buy something for the bus driver and bring it to him. Here you go. Hey, I know you're working hard, and thanks for what you do. Just an incredible kid. The epitome of what you want. Tragically gone at the age of 17. And so, yeah, it was not a little dusty in there when Orofino won that title, and they brought out that empty hanger with his jersey number. And then they gave you a poem that you read on the air as well, Scott, at the end of the game about Drew.
Yeah. And it was really one of those moments too that was really cool, because it timed out perfectly. We're sitting there, trying to capture a moment, and whenever something like that happens, you could fumble it away really quickly if you're not delicate and careful with what you're saying and timing and everything else. And I kind of just looked at Paul, and I held this poem up, and we're both like, yeah, let's go. And so I started reading it, and it just timed out that they were right in front of us with their team picture. And about halfway through the poem, I think they all kind of came together in this giant circle, and they broke it as I was finishing. And so the moment just was perfect. As soon as that was done, I looked over at Paul, and he was like, that's a reel. I mean, that was a perfect moment right there, and it was just so cool just to, have those Orofino kids culminate their season in a way that they did in remembering, Drew and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it was emotional. I mean, it really was. It was very touching, and you could just feel it in the stadium. It was just surreal.
Yeah, pretty incredible finish to the 2A tournament there. And I know that's a North Idaho, but that's a statewide story that just touches
Absolutely.
no matter where you live. I mean, you can certainly get the feelings going for that one.
Yeah. And funny, and really quickly on this one too, that tournament too, I learned so much about different things because I'm used to doing 4As, and I did the 2As and had an absolute blast with, learning about these schools. And, that Chalice Mackey team is, I mean, if you don't know, that co-op has 3 schools in it. I mean, Chalice and Mackey and Arco, Butte County, right? But the thing is, they're so far apart from each other that these kids that make up this team, they don't even practice together. They practice separately. And coaches are talking to each other saying, yeah, well, I got this kid at second base that's doing really well. Okay, well, let's put him in the lineup, whatever. And so their second practice of the entire year came at the state tournament. And here they are trying to play baseball. And it's not like you just trot kids out there. I mean, you've got to know signals, you got to know signs, you got to know rotations, you've got to know different things other than to throw a ball and hit a ball. And yet this Chalice Mackey team got out there and somehow looked like they belonged, and they did. And that was a really cool story at the 2A.
Yeah, that Chalice Mackey co-op, and again, this isn't Magic Valley, but these are things I think that fans can appreciate no matter where you're at. They always host a wood bat tournament to start the year. They have recently, and there was snow. It was snowing for that wood bat tournament, and they have to work so hard to keep that field maintained because they get so much snow. It's kind of like a Wood River, right? They get so much snow and rain and moisture up there. And then, Scott, here's a picture of their baseball field I'm going to share, just the scenery that's behind their baseball field. It's pretty incredible. Let me pull this up here. This is what you're hitting towards. There's the outfield wall, and then you've got the mountains just beyond it there in Chalice.
Wow. Yeah. Welcome to River Cap baseball. And the only other field that I can think of that rivals that is Orofino, right? But yeah, I mean, what a beautiful area up in that part of Idaho. Chalice, Mackey, both of them, and even up in Orofino, there's some really pretty places. But I thought that was a really interesting story there with that co-op.
Yeah, it was a fun tournament for sure at the 2As, and we appreciated the coverage you and Paul gave to that for sure. Okay, let's wrap up with the 1A tournament. It all seems kind of anticlimactic after all those powerful stories at the 2A, but
right.
we did have Glens Ferry bring home a trophy. They won the consolation title. They beat Idaho City 13-10 in the consolation final, but I want to direct you to the first game of their tournament where they fell to Potlatch 9-8. And it was a very tight game, came down to a handful of plays. And at the time you go, Potlatch, this plucky little 4th place finisher from their district, knocked out Glens Ferry. Well, Potlatch went on to win the whole thing. So Glens Ferry almost beat the champs right out of the gate. Talk about a butterfly effect. If Glens Ferry wins that first game instead of Potlatch, who knows what happens? Maybe it's Glens Ferry holding the title.
Oh, amazing. I mean, Potlatch caught lightning in a bottle, if you will, and just found Big Mo on their side and just rode it all the way to the title where they dominated Kendrick in the championship game. I mean, their closest game obviously was their very first one against Glens Ferry. But yeah, you're right. Who knows what would have happened if Glens Ferry could have gotten by Potlatch. But I don't know how many saw that happening with Potlatch just kind of cruising their way to a title.
Yeah, and just beating teams that they had lost to at the district tournament the week prior. I mean, it's just funny how baseball works out sometimes. So congratulations to Potlatch, obviously, but also Glens Ferry for coming home with a trophy as well. And that is a wrap on the 2023-24 school year, Scott. Hard to believe we've hit the finish line, but we made it.
We did. Yes, we did. And boy, it's a time for us to catch our breaths and kind of get ready for summer and kind of retool. And, as we move forward, I think it's a good time right now to mention, like, as we kind of, like you did with these podcasts moving forward, we don't have scores to talk about anymore. What we do have are a bunch of stories, of human interest stories. And that's what we want to cover a lot of during the summer. Some of those things that we see that we don't see at the box score, beyond the box score, is what we want. So if you have anything out there that, we need to know, that we can dig into, let us know. And that would be a great summer for us.
Yes. You can always email ideas about teams, coaches, programs, etc. to either one of us, Brandon at IdahoSports.com or Scott at IdahoSports.com. And so here's what we're going to do for the off season, June and July. Basically, you're looking at 8 weeks on the calendar. We have 4 regional prepcasts that we do: North Idaho, Treasure Valley, Magic Valley, of course, and East Idaho. And between those 4 podcasts, we're going to do a couple of interviews on each show. Basically, it's going to be 1 interview a week in your podcast feed. So if you tune into the Magic Valley Prepcast, hey, 1 week, it's probably going to be me and Scott talking to somebody from the Magic Valley. The next week, it might be me and Sean Kane talking to somebody from East Idaho, but you're going to get an engaging interview. It may not always be from the Magic Valley, but it's going to be an interesting story. And that way you get to learn a little bit more about the other podcasts that we offer weekly here on IdahoSports.com. A little cross-pollination for the summer, if you will.
Well played. Nice analogy. But I think that's important because, all of these podcasts that we do, they all tie together. I mean, here we are talking about, Orofino, and, that's something that the North podcast is going to talk about, and so forth. So they all do tie together. And the more educated you are about what's going on, the more some of the stuff we say makes sense. So,
yes.
Yeah. And I watch them all. They're all fantastic. All of our guys do a great job.
Yep. So be on the lookout for that. 1 interview a week here through the summer. And then August, maybe we'll take a week off and then we'll kind of get back into the swing of you and me every week here, Scott. Talking about the biggest things going on in the Magic Valley. But hey, big thanks to all of the coaches, athletic directors, athletes, parents, especially, that got everybody across the finish line. It's not easy. There's trying times throughout a school year. There's great times. There's tough times, but we made it. There's one last hurdle to clear. I've kind of given this PSA on all of the podcasts we've done this week, but graduation time is coming, right? It's a time for big celebrations. We want to see everybody make it to June, make it to the summer. So if you're celebrating, please do so safely and make sure that, you are celebrating beyond this graduation weekend. So whatever you're doing, however you're celebrating, just make sure you're getting where you're going in a safe manner, because we want to see everybody back here next year.
Absolutely. I'm still celebrating from 1980 something.
Yeah, I didn't even allude to that. Your moniker this week. Class of 1980. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a mystery. It's a mystery.
Well, if you've got a guess, you can send it in at Idaho Sports. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, goodness.
All right, Scott, I know you've got to go get ready for Jerome High School graduation. Have fun tonight. It sounds like it's going to be a great time.
Yeah. I'm still trying to get whatever I've caught out of my system so I don't sound like I'm talking through a tunnel when I'm announcing all the names at graduation. So I'm gonna go do my exercises and whatever it is I do.
I really think we got you warmed up, Scott, when I was first talking to you this morning before we hit record. You kind of sounded like when you're pulling the lawnmower the first couple of times, scratch it, and then we got you humming. We got you.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, I think you're right. I think I got everything loose and ready to go. So I'll be ready tonight for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, big thanks to everybody for tuning into the season 3 finale of the Magic Valley Prepcast. We will see you in the summer for some great off-season content. But until then, for Scott Burton, I'm Brandon Baney. Thanks for tuning in to the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.